Hello, comrades. This is TheAnimeMen, and today we are going to be talking about them. I will give credit in what TheAnimeMen has done for their content because they have done something that made it interesting for new people to get into anime, and it interests an anime community such as us. But the video they made not too long ago, which I thought was a great idea. It was called We Ranked the First Episodes of Every Year's Most Popular Anime from 1961 through 2025. But it turned out to be disappointing, or more so like upsetting, because they personally offended the anime community, me included. These are shows we grew up with or appreciate, and these are authors who spent their lives drawing this day in and day out with bags under their eyes. Then you have animators who put so much work into this. And they have ranked so many of these older animes, such as some of them in the 1960s, in a low rank. And I want to point out that they didn't have that much technology to make it easy to draw this frame by frame as it is today. So, of course, the anime community is going to grill them, because we as fans of anime are passionate about our shows. Just as the authors put their passion into these animes they make. Well, more so like manga, and then it turns into an anime. But it makes me disappointed that they went into this with no valid reason why this was good or bad. And I'll be honest, I don't like saying this, but I think they were close-minded. And they proved it to us by showing us this video where they're on their phones during the times they were watching some anime that they weren't clearly interested in. And they're ranking this. And this is offensive for so many people. I can understand why this felt offensive, because it honestly felt like they were mocking the author's work and the anime community. And the reason I felt that this had to be pointed out by the anime community about them being an anime tourist, or why these guys had so many dislikes, is because we, as an anime community, appreciate these shows and would rather not have it be influenced by those who follow them, because that would be turning a blind eye, and that is something I know an anime community will not be willing to do. Look, all I'm saying is anime is from Japan, and storytelling, I feel, remains as a fundamental part of Japanese culture. You can tell based on the opening and ending songs for the series, and sometimes their songs are very poetic, and there are times you can relate to these music. And like these stories, you have characters that have flaws. They're not someone that are being labeled as, you have to be this way, and there's like their perfection. No, you can actually relate to these characters. I also am impressed with the authors, because they're able to think of what they want to write for their series, such as the plot and what to draw, and then go out of their way to write a message that can be so inspirational to you or to others. So I mentioned the term anime tourist, and I like to talk about it. I believe when you're new to it, you're not automatically a tourist. At least, I don't think so. Because it just depends on how you engage in the medium. So for example, if you watch an anime, which more than likely will be a mainstream, or maybe not, but most of the time, it is. And if it interests you, you'll seek out the quality of the story, or who has wrote it, and etc. I consider that not an anime tourist. I feel like an anime tourist would be along the lines of what has great animation quality with popular mainstream anime. Alright, anyways, I feel like as an anime fan, we have primaries when it comes to anime. For me, it has to be the storytelling. That's the first thing for my primary. My secondary is the characters, then the animation and the music. For others, it could be the animation first, then the secondary is the soundtracks, then the characters, or it could be first the music, secondary the animation, and yeah, so forth. The reason I'm explaining this is because this is how people get into anime, because of these primaries. But for what I have seen in this video, it seemed like their primary was the animation quality that looks cool, with no secondary interest for this anime, and that's why when they rank this, it's frustrating. Because we know why they are ranking this in this format. I would have been fine if they want to rank the mainstream anime, because we know those are popular. And we know those have good animation. But to watch something from the 1960s and going forward, I felt like these had meanings. Because before anime tourists became a thing, I felt that these rankings for anime were based on storytelling. But nowadays, anime ranking is more focused on the animation quality that looks cool and it's mainstream. And it's really sad to see this outcome. Ooh. Okay, I said my things, but I'll be honest. I had a bone to pick with them the moment they said Detective Conan was ranked in C tier. I know a lot of us were very offended in the ranking they put for anime. But for me personally, Detective Conan in C tier, the first episode, Detective Conan was ranked in C tier for the first episode. Look, this might be a biased opinion of mine, but I believe it deserves higher. Now, if you rank this in general, like the anime itself for the 1,000+ episodes or whatnot, I understand that part. I wouldn't give it a C tier overall. But I understand if people put it in D. I understand if it puts an F, if we're talking about the general of the anime, because I'm just not gonna care about that opinion, because I'm just like, whatever, dude. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it, okay? But the first episode, not even the series. The reason I understand the series itself, it's because 47% of this, or more, is fillers. So I understand that part. But, we're talking about the first episode, man. This Detective Conan series, like the first episode of this, has got me into One Piece because I watched the first episode of One Piece and I just couldn't care as much about One Piece at that time. Then I watched Detective Conan, the first episode, right? And that's why I decided to watch both of them at the same time, because they were a very long series. And now One Piece is my number one favorite series of all times for anime. But yeah. But anyways, when I first watched Detective Conan, I thought the animation quality looked like crap. And then it didn't get any better for me because there was a freaking teenage boy who was acting like a big shot. I thought he was like a Mr. Know-It-All detective. And then he also had a childhood friend who had like a weird hairdo. But as the episode unfolded, I was completely hooked. Because then you realize how brilliant this character synergy is at solving cases and why he was known as the modern Sherlock Holmes. And then you also see like Ran, his childhood friend, was just, she had like so many emotions. Like she was just all over the place with her emotions. And I was just like, wow. For the first episode. However, this is where it gets very interesting because Shinichi witnessed a shady deal by these men in black. He follows them, gets knocked out, and instead of shooting him, they give him an untraceable pill because the cops were nearby, since a scene just happened there not too long ago. So they fled the scene, and that's when Shinichi has turned into a kid. But he still had the brain of an adult. There's a reason this first episode is what I consider a masterpiece, because the author wanted to have a kid to think like an adult. It was honestly a very impressive and creative way of thinking, because it piqued the audience interest, me included, without dying so quickly, because it's still ongoing. When they said this,
if you want to watch some detective work, how about you deduce the fact that Detective Conan is not that good? C tier.
I had the perfect response. And that is my response to these anime men. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the anime they ranked, but another one I want to discuss, which will be my last one, is Astro Boy, or Tetsuwan Atom in the 1960. I never watched it until recently. And yeah, I don't understand. Why was this in the F rank?
Oh, Astro Boy from 1963.
I give it an absolute bottom of the barrel F tier.
F tier, bottom of F tier.
You know, for the 1960s, this was very popular in its time. Like, this went global. It's how anime started to become global. My focus in the series wasn't even the anime quality, but I am impressed how clean this is, considering how they didn't have a lot of things to use to do like the animation as we do today. This was stupid, but funny. Stupid, but funny. Because I felt like in the 1960s, the comedy was like, at least this is what because I saw some 1960 sitcoms for American, because I don't know much about Japan, but they did something like relying on a character that was foolish, which made it funny. So the father whose son, Tobio, that died, he wanted to revive his son by making a robot, which happens to be what we know the title of, Astro Boy. And I laughed. I was having a good time watching this because Tobio, Astro Boy, was way too intelligent and very strong, and I wasn't sure That was really how his son was like. But here's what made me really laugh. He gave his son up because he couldn't crow. He's a damn robot, for crying out loud. What are you supposed to do? What? Oh man. He could have easily upgraded him to a certain height, but he just quit and gave him up to a circus. And the first thought that comes to mind when I think of a circus is a clown. And he honestly gave his son up to be a clown. But I honestly think his father is the clown for giving his son up, because this was the best creation he has ever made as a scientist. And his son is very intelligent, and he actually has emotions, and he had a jetpack, and holy crap, I can't believe him. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't understand why this was ranked in the F tier. I don't. And honestly, I would have been fine if they gave their opinion as to why, but they didn't even say why. Like, they didn't even I don't know, man. I'm fine if people put it in F rank, but I just want a reason. I just want a reason. It doesn't even have to be in depth. I just want. It was just sad. That's was the ranking. Anyways, I don't know if what they were doing was rage bait. I don't know if what they were doing was them being, I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to do with this video, because if it was for rage bait, well, congratulations, because you have made a whole anime community furious. But if it wasn't, then my hope is that in the future, they can make content they genuinely enjoy, rather than making a video that attacks the very community they're trying to appeal to. Anyways, that is all I have to say. You lovely comrades, have a wonderful, beautiful, and an amazing day. Not kidding. Love you, comrades. Bye.